This is Ian Cameron for Sportsbook Review with your NHL early lines report for the games on Thursday, December 15th. Let's get to it. Let's start with the Chicago Blackhawks New York Islanders matchup. Chicago Blackhawks getting the return of two key cogs to their lineup in their last game against the New York Rangers. And those two key cogs make a difference. They boost the energy level of the Blackhawks team, talking about their captain Jonathan Taves, defenseman Brent Seabrook, who both returned from injury in their last game, and they beat the New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden on Tuesday night by a score of 2-1. Tight, low-scoring games, and that has been the norm for Chicago. They are 6-0 to the under in their last 6 games. So if you've been betting Chicago games under the total recently, you've been doing quite well. And it makes sense why. I mean, this team's trying to play a more concerted defensive game lately without Corey Crawford in net, trying to lend support for Scott Darling, who is getting the start, it seems, night in, night out in net for this Chicago team, trying to play better defense as a result. Now they're going to take on a New York Islanders team that just really can't get anything going in terms of a sustained winning streak. I mean, they had a 3-game winning streak, and then they lose. Then they get a 2-game winning streak, and now they've lost 2 straight since then against Washington and Columbus. I'm just not a big fan of this Islanders team. Jack Capuano seems to be getting more and more frustrated with this group as time goes on. And I think Chicago getting that little bit of a boost with the return of Jonathan Taves and Brent Seabrook to the lineup. You know, they're not scoring goals in bunches, Chicago. You know, you look at what they've done offensively. It's not been pretty for the Blackhawks. Let's put it that way. They've been held to 2 goals or less now in 4 of their last 6 games. Not very good from an offensive standpoint, but, you know, they are playing good defense. You look at the goals they've allowed in their last 5 games. They allowed 2, 0, 1, 1 goal in those 5 games. So playing very good, stingy defensively, and playing more defense than the Islanders are right now, that's for sure. So I probably would lean to Chicago. Small road favorite here, minus 120. Not a big opinion for me, but we'll lean a bit to Chicago there. Maybe a little bit of a little bit of confidence too from getting that win against the New York Rangers with 2 of their better players back on the ice. We've got the LA Kings taking on the Detroit Red Wings. The next game we'll take a look at. And how about this LA team? What is it about them going on the road? And Jeff Carter really let his team have it following that 6-3 loss against Buffalo on Tuesday night, saying, you know, he's basically sick of the team playing as poorly as they have on the road all season. LA 10-5 at home, 4-9 on the road, and there's been a lot of teams this year in the NHL that have really played poorly on the road. The LA Kings are one of those teams, and that's a problem area. This is not a team I'm laying minus 120 with and laying any price with on the road right now. That's for sure. Problem is the Detroit Red Wings are just, they can't put a puck in the ocean right now. You could put a hockey stick. You know, Dylan Larkin, for instance. I'm just picking a Red Wing player off the top of my head. Dylan Larkin, you could put a hockey stick and puck along the beach somewhere and say, shoot that puck in the ocean, you'll score a goal. He'd miss somehow. Or every Red Wing player would somehow miss, and they wouldn't score. I mean, that's how dreadful this Detroit offense is right now. I mean, it's just been absolutely abysmal. 3 straight losses, 1 goal or less in all 3 games, 2 goals combined in those 3 games, losses at home against Columbus, Philadelphia, and then a brutal one against Arizona the other night, 4-1 at home. They actually played well enough. Again, they're getting shots. They're out shooting the competition. 2 of the last 3 games, they've outshot the opponent, but when you can't bury your chances, it doesn't do you any good. So until Detroit shows some sort of life offensively, I can't back them right now. It's been a disappointing home record for the Red Wings, 6-11 at home. They've actually got more road wins than home wins this year. A very tough game for me. I mean, you've got LA giving up goals on the road. Detroit can't score goals at home. Detroit can't win at home. LA can't win on the road. This becomes a game where it's impossible for me. So it just becomes a pass in the end, and we move on to the next one. And that next one is Minnesota-Nashville. Nashville with a big comeback win against St. Louis the other night at home. Very impressive. They got behind 3-0 in that hockey game, managed to battle back and get a nice victory in that game to beat the Blues. And this Nashville team at home has been great. 10-4 home record. Minnesota just 6-9 on the road. So again, here's another team good at home. Nashville, Minnesota been not so good on the road. So tough for me to make a case here for Nashville, but I'm not really rushing to bet against Minnesota right now. Minnesota's won 5 straight, 3 of those at home. They actually have won each of their last 2 road games for a team that hasn't been great on the road. They beat Toronto and Edmonton in their last 2 road games. It's going to be a much tougher opponent here facing this Nashville team, but Devan Dubnyk is absolutely locked in. He has had a sensational season in net for Minnesota. He's probably the better goalie here, with all due respect to Pekka Rinne. Pekka Rinne can still be a little bit erratic at times. Devan Dubnyk's the better of these 2 goalies. Again, Nashville's been so good at home, I don't want to bet against them, but I'll give the slightest of leans here to Minnesota, especially with them catching a nice plus 115 underdog price tag in this game. Maybe they finally step up on the road and get a win here in this one. New Jersey taking on St. Louis, one of the more underrated trends right now in the NHL. New Jersey overs. We don't think of the New Jersey Devils being an over-the-total machine or an over team. For years, they've been the trap team, defensive-minded. Marty Brodeur, one of the best goalies ever to play the game, the whole bit. They've been associated with defensive hockey. Well, that's not been New Jersey hockey here so far this season, especially of late. I mean, you look at this New Jersey team, their last 10 games, they've gone over the total 6 times with 4 pushes during those 10 games. All of the totals lined at 5, just like where this one is. These 2 teams just played last week in Jersey. Blues with a 4-1 win. That game pushed a total of 5. I'm worried about the over a little bit here, just because, St. Louis coming off giving up 6 goals to Nashville, blowing a 3-0 lead. Ken Hitchcock's going to drill into his team's brain that, hey, we got to shore up defensively, we got to play better in front of Jake Allen, and to be honest, Jake Allen has to play better in net. And Jake Allen has played better at home. He's been one of those odd home-road dichotomy goalies. He's played very, very well at home, not quite as well on the road. And now, of course, he's back home here at the Scott Trade Center, ready to make this start. So while New Jersey is not a team I'm looking to bet under right now, I've been betting overs with New Jersey. Not quite sold on this being the right spot, the right matchup to pull the trigger on another New Jersey over the total bet, although that is the way I'd lean. Florida taking on Winnipeg, and it's really now becoming quite clear. Florida's 2-6 in their last 8 games, all of them since Gerard Gallant got fired, and it seems to be like where there's smoke, there's fire. There seems to be something real legitimate to the case being made that the Florida Panthers are giving the ultimate middle finger to GM Tom Rowe, to the upper management of this team, for firing Gerard Gallant. Apparently, the Panthers players, from all the NHL insiders, they really liked Gerard Gallant as their coach. They respected him. They played hard for him. They thought he did not deserve to be fired. And they're basically now saying to GM, well, fuck you. We're not going to play for you, right? We're not going to play our best or our hardest for you because of what you've done. And I mean, they've just been atrocious hockey team. 2-7 in their last 9 games. You know what the 2 wins came against? Detroit in overtime, and Detroit's not very good, and Vancouver. Vancouver's a horror show. Those are the 2 wins in those 9 games for Florida. Vancouver and Detroit. They haven't beaten a quality team at all during this stretch. You look at the losses, they lose to Boston, Philly, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Chicago, Carolina. Every good team they've played, every decent to good team they've played, they've lost. And I don't like the body language of this team. They got behind early against Pittsburgh at home last week. Got behind big early in that game. No response from them. None. 0. They just went into a ball, curled up into the fetal position, suck on their little thumb, and just go home. And they lose that game 5-1. Similar story Tuesday night in Minnesota against the Wild. They fall behind 3-0 in that game. Do they keep fighting? Do they keep playing hard? Do they keep finishing their checks? Do they keep winning one-on-one battles for loose pucks? No. No, they do the same damn thing. Crawl into a little ball, suck your thumb, go into the fetal position, and just get drubbed. And that's what happened in Minnesota. They lose 5-1. This is an unbackable hockey team right now. I want no part of this Florida Panthers team right now. It's bad body language. I think they're pissed off that Gallant got fired. And, of course, the guy that fired him is their interim coach right now. The GM Tom Rowe's taken over behind the bench here for Florida. That's... You think the players are happy this guy's behind the bench, a guy that they're apparently pissed off at for firing Gallant? And they're going to play hard for this guy? I haven't seen it. Now, there has been effort. They have put shots on net, but they're not doing the little things. Nobody's going to the net for a rebound. Nobody's taking their check. Nobody's, trying to stir things up when they fall behind. The little things are what they're not doing. Even though the stats look good, they're out shooting teams in some of these games. Doesn't translate to the results. They're not doing the little things right. I don't think they give a shit right now about playing hard for this GM right now behind the bench, who's the interim head coach. They miss Gallant, and I think they're a bet against team right now. You either bet against Florida or you leave their games alone right now. The problem here is, can you trust the Winnipeg Jets? I mean, the Winnipeg Jets have just been in a free fall. They've lost 4 straight games to Detroit, the Rangers, Calgary, Edmonton. Now they come home from that 2-game Alberta road trip. The funny thing is Winnipeg keeps losing games here, and they're about as healthy as they've been up front all season. They got Brian Little back. Mark Scheifele's healthy again. Patrick Laine's having a good season. I mean, they're as healthy as they've been up front all year, and they're playing some pretty poor hockey. I mean, they're giving up goals. They're not scoring enough. They've been held to 3 goals or less in each of their last 4 games. That being said, Winnipeg returns home. They're 8-7. They do have a winning home record. Florida's just 5-12 on the road. If Winnipeg's going to snap this funk, it's got to be in this game. I have to think it's got to be Thursday night here, hosting this moribund, floundering, flatlining Florida Panthers team. I could only bet Winnipeg in this game. In fact, I probably will bet Winnipeg. I've been disappointed with their recent play, but I think Florida's in much worse shape right now. We'll go with Winnipeg minus 120, lean to the Jets in that game. All right, let's wrap it up. Rangers-Dallas, East versus West matchup. I think the Rangers have done a remarkable job despite all the injuries. They keep playing hard. They keep giving you good effort night in, night out. But eventually when you lose the scoring prowess of Rick Nash in this lineup, night in, night out, eventually you're going to start to feel that absence. And we're starting to see that here with the Rangers. A banged-up hockey team. Rick Nash may or may not play Thursday night. He actually may return for this game for the Rangers. Obviously would be a big boost. Ryan McDonough, the defenseman, didn't play in the Rangers' last game against Chicago either due to the flu. He is likely to return for this game. But still, I mean, 2-1 loss to Chicago the other night. It's a team that on the road, again, another team that on the road, not been quite as good as they've been at home. They do have one of the better road records in this league. But the Dallas Stars, to me, I saw some real positives from Dallas in their 6-2 home win against the Anaheim Ducks on Tuesday night. Let me explain why. Dallas all year, something bad happens to them, they just crumble. I mean, they just, the fragile, whatever you want to call it, they didn't respond well to adversity. Well, guess what? Prior to this homestand, they had dropped 2 in a row on the road. Lindy Ruff said, this homestand is going to make or break our season. I really believe that. Hopefully our players feel the same way too. Almost trying to say to them, hey, get your head out of your asses. This is a huge homestand for us. We need to start winning games. We need to put a streak together. We need to get on a run. Well, they responded very well in that first game of this homestand against Anaheim, a 6-2 win against the Ducks. And what I liked is that game was tied 1-1. Anaheim gets a little bit of a good lucky break to get a 2-1 lead early in the third period. Dallas didn't crumble this time. They showed some mental fortitude, some toughness, and they kept battling. They tied the game. They took the lead 3-2 right after that, and then they just rolled from that point on to a 6-2 victory. And I think a real positive sign. Now, the problem for Dallas is they haven't won 2 games in a row very often lately. I mean, you look at the last 3 times they won, they lost the next game. Not a very good sign. It's hard to trust this team, especially their recent track record, to win 2 games in a row. But they responded well. They listened to Lindy Ruff saying this homestand matters a lot to us. And I think they get some real legitimate confidence from the way they put the boots to Anaheim 6-2. They haven't won a lot of games by that kind of score this year, 6-2, in dominating fashion in that third period. I think it's momentum, legitimate momentum that can carry over for Dallas into this game on Thursday night. So with that in mind, I think it's play of the daytime here in this video for the NHL Thursday, December 15th card. Let's go with the Dallas Stars, plus 100. I had a bet on them against Anaheim in the same price range, even money at home. They cashed. I think the momentum sticks with Dallas, at least for one more game against this New York Rangers team, and they continue a homestand that their head coach believes is vital if they want to get back into the Western Conference playoff race. Dallas was good at home the other night. They'd still have a pretty good home record this year, 8-6. I think they'd notch another home victory here. Dallas plus 100. Play of the day for Thursday, December 15th in the NHL. All right, that'll wrap up my NHL Early Lines report for Thursday, December 15th.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.